I'm going to tell you how Uber car accident claims and settlements work. We're going to cover everything from right after the accident through you hopefully getting paid big. The insurance company for the at-fault driver is usually responsible to pay you for your claims. In order for them to pay you, a claim needs to get set up. Every claim gets its own unique claim number. There are generally two ways that a claim is set up with the at-fault driver's insurance company. Number one, the other driver reported the claim to their insurance company, or number two, you or your lawyer report the claim to the other driver's insurance company. In accidents involving an Uber with a passenger, there is a high chance that the Uber driver reports the crash to Uber. This is because the Uber driver is required to do so. If they don't, they could lose their job driving for Uber, and they don't want to lose cash. If you're an Uber driver or an Uber passenger who ordered the ride, you can use the Uber app to report the crash. But before you report the crash using Uber's app, make sure the police come to the scene. This is because you want the police to investigate. If they don't investigate, it may make your case substantially harder to prove. This is because people are more likely to change their story after they leave the accident scene. The last thing you want is to be unable to prove your case. During the police officer's investigation, they'll get the driver's and passengers' names, get the driver's vehicle and insurance information, speak with witnesses, and determine who they think is at fault. You or your lawyer can also make a claim without using Uber's app. You do this by calling Uber's insurance company. More on that in a moment. Let's first quickly look at making claims with Uber using their app. The app will ask you which ride the accident happened during, what your injuries are, a description of how the crash happened, and whether your vehicle or property was damaged. Here's a huge warning. Be very careful explaining to Uber or their insurance company how the crash happened. This is because the insurance company can later use this against you. This means that they may pay you much less money if you misspeak. One of the reasons Uber asks you if you're injured is so your case gets assigned to the proper level claims adjuster. The adjuster is the insurance company employee who works on your claim and decides how much to pay you. More experienced adjusters handle large injury claims like a broken bone or surgery. Once a claim is set up, Uber's insurance company will start investigating. Now, just because the Uber driver's or the other driver's insurance company assigns a claim number does not mean you will get paid. This is a common mistake that people who are in Uber accidents make. I see it time and time again. They assume that just because the insurance company has given them a claim number, they will get paid. This is wrong. A claim number just means two things. They're investigating the crash and they found an insurance policy number. In order for you to get paid, several things need to happen. First, the at-fault driver's insurance company needs to confirm that there is insurance coverage for your accident. Just because the other driver gave the police officer or you their insurance card at the time of the accident, it does not mean that there is coverage. In order for there to be insurance coverage, the policy needs to be active at the time of the crash. If the Uber driver had the Uber app on, there will be at least some insurance coverage. More on this in a moment. Let's assume that you're an Uber driver or Uber passenger and the other car is at fault. You still need the other driver to have insurance coverage, which means that they must have made their insurance payments. Also, there can't be an exclusion in the policy which could cause a denial of coverage. If you're in an Uber car and the other driver is at fault, the other car's insurance company could deny coverage. The most common denial is either the car or driver is not listed on the insurance policy. But I got some good news for you. If the Uber driver is at fault, there likely won't be a coverage exclusion with Uber's insurance company. If you're injured, most insurance companies will usually assign at least two different adjusters to the claim. One is a property damage liability adjuster. This adjuster handles payment for damage to your car or your property like a broken cell phone. The other adjuster that they'll assign is the bodily injury liability adjuster. They often call themselves the BI adjuster, which stands for bodily injury. The BI adjuster handles payment to you for your medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering. But they only pay if their insured was at fault. What if the Uber driver had accepted a ride at the time of your crash? In that instance, Uber may use only one adjuster for the liability claim. That adjuster may handle both your property damage and personal injury claim. If the insurance company clears coverage, this means that there is coverage for your claim. You want them to tell you in writing that there is coverage for the claim. You also want them to tell you in writing the amount of coverage. In order to get them to tell you this in writing, you need to ask for it in writing. This forces the adjuster to comply with the law. There's a huge difference between claims where an Uber driver is at fault and those where another driver is at fault. The key difference is with Uber, you know how much insurance coverage they have. If the Uber driver had the Uber app on but hadn't accepted the ride, they have $50,000 in BI coverage. This covers your medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering if the Uber driver is at fault. Uber also has $25,000 in property damage coverage, which covers damage to your car or other property. If the Uber driver had accepted a ride at the time of the crash, these limits massively increase. They have $1 million in combined BI and property damage coverage. That is good news. But the adjuster still needs to determine two things: fault, which is also called liability, and your damages and injuries. To determine fault, the insurance adjuster will look at the traffic crash report. They will also try to speak with several people about how the accident happened. They'll want to speak with the Uber driver, you, and any witnesses. They'll want to take your recorded statement. However, usually you don't have to give the adjuster a recorded statement. However, Uber drivers are required to give Uber's insurance company a recorded statement, and the other driver is required to give their insurance company a recorded statement, but only if the adjuster asks for it, so don't volunteer it. One tactic that insurance adjusters use is that they tell you they can't pay for your car damage unless they get your recorded statement. This isn't true. I've settled several car accident cases for over $300,000 where the at-fault driver's adjuster never took my client's statement. The insurance adjuster will then assign a certain percentage of fault to the drivers or people in the crash. They may assign anywhere from 0 to 100% fault to each driver. The fault determination is very important for a few reasons. First, in many states, if you're over 50% at fault, the other driver's insurance company doesn't owe you money, not 1 cent. And the more fault they place on you, the less money they owe you. For example, let's say a driver was 75% at fault for causing the crash. That driver's insurance company only owes you 75% of your total damages. That applies to both your property damage and personal injury claims. And believe it or not, passengers can also be at fault for not wearing a seatbelt. It can have an enormous effect on their case value. This is true even if you were in that back seat. Unfortunately, about half the Uber passengers I speak with weren't wearing their seatbelt at the time of the crash. Next, the insurance company will want to get all of your medical records and bills. They'll ask you to sign a medical authorization so they can gather your medical records and bills. You generally are not required to sign this medical authorization in your claim against the other driver. The insurance company will set a reserve to pay your personal injury claim. By law, they are required to set a certain amount of money aside to pay your claim. This amount could be anywhere from 0 to a large number. As the insurance adjuster gets more information, they can either increase or decrease the settlement reserve. Your goal, as you may be guessing, is to get them to increase that settlement reserve fast. To do this, either you or your lawyer will gather and send them any medical records, bills, or other evidence that shows that you're badly hurt. It takes time for insurance companies to increase their claim reserve. Not getting the insurance company your medical records and bills fast usually delays your settlement, and of course you don't want that. The insurance adjuster will have a settlement range they can settle your case within. Unfortunately, they won't tell you what this range is. If they do, they are likely not telling you the truth. As much as I like adjusters, and I do like most, you should never trust the adjuster. This is for one simple reason. Your interests are opposite to theirs. Every dollar they save by paying you less, their insurance company makes an extra dollar. And if there's one thing I learned about insurance companies in the past 20 years of handling car accident claims, it's this: they love making profit. You or your lawyer will need to calculate your own value of your personal injury case. You do this by adding your out-of-pocket medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering amount. Your goal is to get a large payout for all of those damages. To have the best odds of a substantial settlement, I highly suggest you use my favorite claim trick. From what I've seen, most people in Uber accidents make the mistake of not using it, and they miss out on sizable compensation. To see what this proven claim tactic is and how to easily use it, watch this video here or click on the link in the description below. And if you've been injured in an Uber accident and you think someone else is at fault, click the link in the description below to see if I could be the lawyer for you.